like this one, okay? And we know that there are very important contributors given to the optical science by painters, especially in the Renaissance. The most important was Leon Battista Alberti in the early 15th century, but also Piero della Francesca that wrote a book, so this was a theoretician that wrote a book, De Prospettiva Pingenti, in 16th, in the second half of the 15th century. And they learn how to represent in 2 dimensions, that is on the board, the real world, and study careful how to represent object far away, like this one, okay, which is kept from a painting by Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci is a Florentine painter that worked even in Milano, okay. You see that they investigated that the distant object, like this mountain, lose resolution. What means in the modern language means that the distant object loses high spatial frequency. Okay, and Leonardo was one of the first to investigate this effect. So Leonardo don't have the mathematical instrument to realize this, but he practically convinced other people that the effect of observing far object is not is universal effect, okay? And also they realize the light source present diffraction, like this another Lombard painter that you see that present diffraction, okay? So why this was important? Because the telecom engineer, okay, would like as a way to transmit some signal from a transmitter to a receiver. Okay, so this means that we have to, whatever be the signal, we like to arrive to the receiver with high power. Why high power? Why is exactly the lecture that you have had before, that is in order to increase the signal to noise ratio. So in order to increase the signal to noise ratio, that is the square of the receiver power, okay, so power squared, divide some variance that summarize the error that you have in this propagation, that you accumulate in this propagation, we needed to have a high numerator. But in order to have a high numerator, I needed to have a beam concentrated. Why? Because the power is nothing more than the intensity area. So this means that you need to have a beam as small as possible. Okay, because otherwise, if you have a diffraction, okay, and your beam starts from here and diffract, okay, and you collect a small area, this beam, okay, you collect a fraction of the power, that is a small power. Okay, but what is this area? Area is nothing more than the pi r squared. So it's something that is proportional to the dimension of the beam or the image or the signal that arrive in your photodetector. Okay, but this dimension r, this dimension r here, okay, what is exactly zeta, that is the propagation, time theta, this angle. Okay, because you know from the trigonometry law that okay, this is about the tangent of the angle alpha. So since if you propagate with diffraction theta, r increase, okay, if r increases, the power, that is the power of your receiver, decreases. So this is the main problem. means problem, okay? Because the telecom engineers don't like to have low power, okay? So I hope that you see. Okay, so the increase of this dimension is proportional to the propagation distance theta. Okay, so because it should be tangent theta, okay, but the tangent theta, one theta is small, is equivalent to theta. So in first approximation, this is the problem. That is, if you stay far from your antenna or from your beacon or from your source, no, you decrease the intensity. This is unavoidable. So it's why telecom people try to design some device like lenses, mirror, and antenna, okay, in order to bring small the diffraction, okay. So this is an antenna that is large because this theta is some constant lambda d, where d is the diameter of the antenna, the diameter of the lens, the diameter of the laser beam, the diameter of whatever transmitter, okay? In single mode approximation. If you have a multi-mode approximation, this expression is a bit more, not much, but a bit more complex. The constant depends on the description of the shape of the beam. Depend on the shape of the beam. So you see that this is the strategy invented by Telecom. Telecom said since R depends on theta, and since theta is proportional inverse to the diameter of my beacon, of my antenna, if I increase the diameter, like this one, okay, theta is small, and if theta is small, the intensity is higher. And if intensity is higher, signal to noise ratio is higher, and if the signal to noise ratio is higher, my error is low. Very simple, okay? This is a basic. So this problem was observed seen many times, but what the people try to understand is exactly this figure. Why? When you observe some far object in the horizon or far away, you lost resolution. Why? So this was a huge problem, a giant problem, not so easy to decipher. But we know, we have now, okay, one of the first people, we have now the tool to decipher this problem. Why we have the tool? Because we already know what are the eigensolutions in the propagation, okay? We know that there are a limited number of functions that propagate. So this effect should be a consequence of the eigensolution of the propagation. Should not contradict, no? But before to this, the effect was analyzed by Huygens. Huygens is these people here, Christian Huygens, very important in the story of optics, that is the 17th century. He studies mechanics and optics. And in particular, he put in his book, he wrote a book, Traité de la Lumière, so we are 3 centuries ago, so nothing new. And in this book, okay, published in the 1690, Traité de la Lumière, he put this very interesting sketch. What is this sketch? It's quite interesting for us now to read this sketch. Why? Because he said if you have whatever transmitter, okay, a transmitter transmits something through a pupil. What is a pupil? A pupil is the description of the field at the transmitter. We imagine a pupil like an hole, like the pupil of the eye, okay? But in general, the concept of pupil is whatever description of the field at the transmitter. So you see that means that you have a candle like this. This is a pupil. And in general, a pupil is something that is a description. So description of the field at the transmitter. Okay? So if you have a pupil here, what happened? He said, I don't know what happened, but what I may suppose is that the pupil that is described by a function p x y, okay, because I suppose a propagation in the direction zeta, okay, here is y and x, okay. So I suppose that my pupil is nothing more than a collection of spherical wave that depart from the pupil itself. Okay. So he said each one of this description, each one of the point in the pupil is a originated spherical wave. And now we know that this is true, is possible, and it also is mathematically it's comply with the mathematics that we study. Because why? Because the spherical waves are eigensolution of an homogeneous space, in effect. Okay, so the spherical waves are eigenfunction, in effect, of the whatever electromagnetic signals they propagate. Okay, so this that was an intuition by Huygens, you know, because at the time of Huygens there was not yet the Maxwell law, there was not yet the spherical wave solution, okay, but this intuition was good. He say what the observer see here, okay, and if you are an observer here, what the observer see is a sum of these different waves that propagate. So it's the sum of this spherical wave. Okay, and then since you don't observe a field, but you observe square module of the field, you square module this sum. Okay, and this is what occurs in effect. So in other terms, in a modern term, with a modern language, but this integral was already written by Huygens, what the observer see is nothing more than an integral. Integral is a sum, okay, conceptually, of what? You see here, this is a spherical wave described by P1. P1 is the XY description of the field, okay. And this also, sometime you may introduce the cos theta. Theta is this angle, that is the angle that you do with the horizontal axis, but this is obliquity factor, could be even removed if the observer is exactly on the zeta axis, okay, so it's not important. And this was the effect that you see. Also, it presents a term like a minus I behind this, 1 over lambda minus y, and this is the with phase shift that occurs, but okay. This is a general expression for the from Huygens-Frege integral. Now let us observe more in detail this general expression, because this is now we may give an modern interpretation of this, no? That is, I repeat, is also presented 3 centuries ago, so nothing of new. What is the modern interpretation? When we move from my transmitter okay, so I have my pupil here, whatever is my pupil P1, okay, and then I suppose to move from here, okay, to observe a distance zeta, this one, This is described by the coordinate, okay, x1, y1, and we are at zeta 1, and here we have the coordinate x o, y o, zeta o, okay? And this is the coordinate zeta. So this is my distance, okay? So what we observe now, we observe that this is a sort of strange object because I have exponential minus I key r divide r. Okay, if I am quite close to the axis, from my observer is close to the axis, r, this denominator here, you see here, okay, that is RO1 is approximately equal to the distance, okay? The problem is with the exponential, because since the exponential is exponential, it's not possible to approximate the r of the exponential with the zeta. No, because the error that you do is too high. You follow me? That's the mathematics. So you may approximate the denominator, but you cannot approximate the exponential, because exponential is a function that moves exponentially, so it's dangerous function, okay? So if you move a bit more the exponential, the function changes much, okay? So what happened? Follow me. This is the observer, okay? This is the exponential you see here. This r is obviously this expression, okay? By Pythagorean, always Pythagora, okay? 2007 and more, okay? Then I collect zeta 0 minus zeta 1, that is this distance. I obtain this. I put this out of the square root, and I obtain what this one. But since now I suppose that we are far from the object, this denominator is much more larger than this numerator. You agree? No, you don't agree? No, you're supposed to be far and the pupil be small. But in effect, your pupil is small because it's 3 millimeter diameter. The pupil of the transmitter is even small, okay, because it's a transmitter, okay. So this is approximation. So this means that this is zeta minus zeta 1 plus, this is a Taylor approximation of the d square root. 1 plus 1/2 the term, okay? So this means that all this complication is due to the fact that I cannot put in the exponential r, okay? Simply this fact. It's just a mathematical fact, okay? But this mathematics is full of consequence. Full of consequence. Follow me. This is mathematics. So this means that instead of this exponential, I wrote this one. So this means that instead of this, I wrote this, okay? But now the spherical wave look like this, because this is the r that I put zeta minus zeta 0 minus zeta of observer minus zeta 1. And this is my exponential. That now is no longer expressed with r, but is expressed like this, as function of the distance, okay? Well, it's a very simple mathematical approximation, but now it's regular because I use a Taylor approximation, okay? So it's quite regular. Now, if I write this, this is without the integral, no? The Eugen-Feiner integral, this term UR, because UR is the spherical wave, is one of the infinite, or many, not infinite, but many spherical waves that depart from the pupil, okay, from the transmitted pupil, no? So what happened? Now let me introduce this term, spatial frequency. By definition, XO divide lambda zeta 0 minus zeta 1. And let's introduce another term, spatial frequency Y, that is Y0 divide lambda zeta 0 minus zeta 1. What is this strange object? This strange object is meter minus 1, okay? Because spatial frequency fx0 is x0, okay, divide lambda distance. So you see that here you have a square meter. In the numerator I have a meter, so this is meter minus 1. Meter minus 1 is similar to time minus 1. And I call time minus 1, that is the period, you agree? I call time, if I have a period of some sinusoid, t capital, I call 1 over t frequency. You agree? So I call time to minus 1 frequency. So I call meter minus 1 frequency. And what sort of frequency are these? This frequency was born because if I put this term here, I may give a powerful interpretation of this. A powerful interpretation of this R. Why? Follow me. This is my Eugen integral, okay? You see? Now I put out of the integral 1 over zeta minus zeta 1. That is the denominator of the spherical wave. Why? Because don't depend on the pupil. I put out of the integral. Then I develop this term here. Okay, but this term is a minus I k x0 minus x1 squared divide 2. I develop the squared. X0 minus x1 squared is x0 squared plus x1 squared minus 2x0 x1 plus plus plus, okay? Now this develop free term x0 y0, okay? But this is don't depend. This is a sort of a constant because don't depend on the pupil description. So I put this out of the integral. Then I have another term, the term in x1 that remain. And then I have a cross term, you see, 2x0, x1, 2 y0, y1, divided to 0 minus zeta 1. Okay, instead of x0, this one, 2 divided with 2, okay, so it remains x0 divided zeta 0 minus zeta 1, 1 over lambda, because key is 2 pi over lambda. Okay, so I may substitute here, sorry, this is wrong, this is 2 pi here, I made a mistake, okay, this is 2 pi, here is 2 pi, frequency, spatial frequency x1 plus 2 pi spatial frequency y1. Okay, so I introduce the term, this term here. Okay. So this is 2 pi, sorry, no, I have to correct. Okay. So this means that I hope that let me do correction. Where is the time? I don't find the okay. Now, what we observe, okay, we observe this very strange effect that this one is out of the, okay, this one is out of the integral. This is a phase term, and this what is? This is a Fourier expression, because this is exactly, because this is an exponential, is nothing more than a Fourier expression. So what we realize this strange, very strange effect that when we observe at the distance my object, my pupil, okay, the observation, and this is a diffraction effect that move from basic principle, because he uses eigenfunctions, spherical eigenfunctions. I obtain some terms that are all phase terms, you see here. I obtain the integral of the pupil description time a phase term, time this, but this is the kernel of the Fourier integral. If you remind the Fourier, I hope that you study in, I don't know where, in Mathematics 2, System 1, whatever your matter, Fourier integral, no? This, if you study this, you see it's exactly the Fourier integral. So this means that the discovery, important discovery of Huygens was, Huygens was not aware about this, okay? Because at the time of Huygens, what we discovered this, that exactly using the Huygens integral, if I have here the pupil, okay, when we observe if I have here my pupil, okay, when we observe this pupil that propagates this light, okay, here, okay, the sum of all the spherical waves that depart from the pupil give me something that apart a phase term is a Fourier transform of the pupil itself. You agree? This is mathematics. The interpretation was not given by Huygens because Fourier born in the 19th century, that is a century after, no? But today this is the interpretation that we give. And what is interesting here is exactly this, that if you look at this Fourier frequency, okay, what are the Fourier frequency? Fourier frequency is very easy as concept that it's important that you as telecommunication people bring this concept in your background, in your study, okay? So you suppose to have here the sinusoid, omega t, okay? So you have a sort of behavior like this, you agree? And here is the period, okay? So 1 over t is me, okay? So this one is 2 pi 1 over t, okay? So now you suppose to consider this x, what is x0? x0 is a measurement of some displacement. X is a displacement. A measurement with respect to what? To the origin. Okay? To the origin. So, do you give an interpretation of this? This means that I have here sort of origin here, and I move x0 from the origin. So instead of consider x0, you suppose to consider delta x. Delta x, okay, there, okay, divide lambda zeta 0 minus zeta 1, okay. So this delta x, okay, look exactly like the capital time, the period of my equivalent sinusoid that I have in the pupil. So it's like in the pupil you have an equivalent sinusoid, like this one, where this is delta x. So the spatial frequency of this, is exactly this term here, x0 divided lambda 0 minus theta 1. Okay? And what is interesting here, is that this frequency, you see, depend on the distance. What means this? It means that if I change the distance, when I observe an object, and I observe the object at different distance, that is 10 meters, 100 meters, 1 kilometer, the scale of my power spectrum change. So it looks like that when I observe an object far, the scale of my spectrum changed. No? And the frequency became more and more lower. Why lower? Because you see that 0 minus theta 1 increases. So the denominator increases, the frequency decreases. So what means that it's like that I expand the scale of, you have to imagine this plane, the object observer plane, like an Fourier plane, okay? You see, this is like a Fourier plane, okay? And the scale of this Fourier plane changes if you move a distance from the object. So this means that it's difficult to measure some high frequency component in the source, because since the scale to the high frequency, I lost the high frequency. I only are able to collect the low frequency component. And this is why I cannot see the detail on my image. And it is why Leonardo da Vinci painted this loss of detail in his painting. Okay? You follow? I summarize. All is okay? We already was aware. I summarize again. Is clear this? You are aware about this reading of the diffractive phenomenon? No, it's the first time that you hear about. Just to statistic. Is it the first time that, who is the first time that hear this? Who was already aware about this property? Okay, so you are, okay. People already aware, follow me. The other people make it more difficult, maybe. No, just to statistic, because I needed to check your knowledge about this subject, because I don't like to repeat something that you already know, or I like to repeat with other language. Is okay? Anything is okay?
No. So you can tell them that
so,
it's the first time that you see the phone.
Observe this fact. We learned to think from this integral, that is very simple integral, no? One, that this don't contradict what we study in the differential equation, because exactly this integral use eigensolution. So there are no contradictions with the previous lecture, because we use eigensolution. Okay. Then we observe that if you move far from the pupil, you don't have intensity change, because all this means phase. It's only a matter of phase. You have no absorption, no attenuation of nothing. Okay, so the light arrives. We know that there are a minimum of attenuation in the clean air, it's 0, 2 dB, similar, no? But here is not attenuated, is not contemplated. Okay, so we are not talking about attenuation. So you don't see the object far, the detail, because attenuation. This is wrong. It's a blue pencil error. You don't you cannot use as explanation of why you don't see the far object because attenuation, because it's not a matter of attenuation, because here in the Huygens-Frege interval attenuation don't enter. This is a fundamental point. Point 1. So point 1 is coherent with the Huygens solution. Point 2, the observation of the diffraction don't present attenuation problem in our model. Point 3, when we observe this, the phenomenon of diffraction look like, is not exactly, but look like, in a good approximation, if you are closer to the axis zeta and the pupil is not so far, it's small, so you may extend your Taylor approximation. So in Taylor approximation is look like something that believe Fourier integral of the pupil times the phase factor. The problem is this phase factor. That is a very complicated problem. So it's not the Fourier integral of the pupil, it's the Fourier integral of the pupil times the Fourier factor. This we see the problem. And this Fourier integral transforms my plane in a Fourier plane, like I picture for you this, okay? So you see here is a Fourier plane. Observation plane is coincide with the Fourier plane. But the scale, that is the power spectrum of this Fourier plane, move as I move far. So as I move far, it's more difficult to individuate the small detail. Why? Because the pupil of my observation is small. So if this detail became larger in terms of frequency, I cannot intercept this. And this is why I lose the high definition detail. Okay? And the Fourier is like exactly a sinusoid in space. So if I have to design this in space, what is my representation of the Fourier? My representation is this one. I give you a representation. Okay, this is my frequency. When I move far, the frequency becomes this. Okay, so this grating, this is a frequency, became larger. Okay, so this is what happened. And this is my frequency. Okay, in the Fourier plan. So people then spent 3 centuries to study this phenomenon that I summarize now in 2 slides and a quarter of hour. So I apologize for this synthetic vision of 3 centuries of optics. Okay, but they call this Rayleigh-Sommerfeld region, this region Fresnel region, and this finally Fraunhofer region. In the Fraunhofer region, the term of phase, the phase term that enter here, in this integral, this phase term here, you may consider that is equivalent to 1. Why? Because you consider small object a very large denominator. So in this Fraunhofer, this was called in the book Fraunhofer approximation. Okay, and you find this in a very important book that I suggest everybody to read, that is this book, Fourier Optics, Introduction to Fourier Optics by Joseph Goodman. Okay. And in this Fraunhofer approximation, what you obtain exactly the Fourier transform of the pupil. Okay? And that I hope to close the ring, chain now, okay, for everybody. This is a Fraunhofer approximation, okay? Now you said, but what matters this with propagation? Of course, this matters with propagation because this is exactly what you want to study. Because what is the objective of my problem is to transmit a pupil and to maintain the pupil equal, identical after 1,000 of kilometers. Because if I am able to do this, to transport the pupil 1,000 kilometers, I want my deal with the diffraction. The problem is to obtain this because we see that it's not possible. Okay, so now we have to study how to obtain this. Okay. Just to give an idea, you suppose to have here a rectangular pupil. A rectangular pupil is described by the function rectangle xLx. If you take the Fourier transform of a rectangle pupil, that is a pupil like this here, okay, this is my pupil, okay, so this is called rectangle of xL, yL, okay. If I have this description of the pupil, the Fourier transform looks something like sin pi, this one, alpha, divide pi alpha. That is called sinc function, okay? And this pattern like this one, okay? This is a Fraunhofer figure of this pupil. And this is called also sinc squared because it's the intensity, so it's a sinc squared, okay? And you see that it is an infinite function because it presents infinite, the cross description of this, the expectation of this one in terms of images. The image of this pupil is this one, and the description is like this one. Okay, so you see that you have here the peak in the center, and then you have one wave, two wave, infinite wave. So because it's being a Fourier transform, you consider infinite wave. So this means that even the more simple pupil like this square, if you observe this pupil far from the pupil itself, you cannot see a square, but you see this. Okay? You see this pattern, okay? So this is a regular pattern you observe on you, and this is why we have a divergence, because you see that there are Q of intensity far from the center, so you lost power. In other terms, it's not possible to maintain concentrated the power, okay? Everybody are familiar with this figure? Did you already see? This is a Fraunhofer pattern of a square pupil. So you suppose this square pupil is a radar beacon. This is the image of the radar 20 kilometers far, okay? Okay. So the airplane sees this image of the radar, okay? Or if this is a pupil given by some other optical source, this is the image of the optical source, okay? So you cannot avoid this diffraction, okay? Because it's a Fourier component. You suppose to have another important pupil that is a periodical sinusoidal aperture grating. That means this like a pupil like this. So instead of having this, you have a grating that is a periodical sinusoid here. Okay. This is the Fourier transform. Since you have a periodical sinusoid, you have a sort the transform of some periodical in a peak. So you have the pupil with two peaks more. The peak that born at the receiver depend on the frequency of this fringe, okay, of this grating. Okay, so you have a function like this one. Okay, function like this one. So this is a Fraunhofer diffraction pattern of the sinusoidal amplitude gradient, because you see that here is a classical Fraunhofer pattern plus a peak. The distance of this peak, okay, depend on the frequency of your pattern. So more your pattern is high frequency, more this peak is distant. Exactly like a time signal, no? If you have a time signal, more high is the frequency of the time signal, more high is the distance in the power spectrum of your signal. Okay, so if you have, since this distance is increasing, is why you lost this high frequency when you observe with a finite aperture receiver the phenomena. Okay. And so this confirms the Leonardo da Vinci vision. Okay, so who is the author of the painting decay illustrated in my? Who knows? Who have the answer? Of this paint, not the Leonardo paint, I said me. Of this paint. Who is the author of this painting? Who is the author of this painting? Is the most important Milano Renaissance painter. It was no Leonardo, because Leonardo was no Milano, it was Florentine. Nobody? Who is the most important Renaissance painter in Milano? I asked two Italian people especially, no? Of course, no the Chinese people, because maybe the Chinese don't study Renaissance painting, but Italians living in Milano, I hope. Facciamo un break qua. Who is this? Chi è questo qua? Ma Mantegna non è milanese, cioè non dovete sparare delle cose qui, ma poi Mantegna è veronese, anzi è veronese che è diventato mantovano come me, io sono mantovano. Mantegna is working in Mantua. Probabilmente voi non avete mai studiato la pittura milanese, perché non si fa mai al liceo, si fa sempre quella fiorentina, perché è quella che aveva proposto il Vasari nel 500. I nostri libri di testo sono ancora quelli del 500, non sono stati mai aggiornati sostanzialmente. Per cui se voi studiate pittura al liceo, vi fanno la pittura come l'aveva vista Vasari nel 500, in cui esistono i fiorentini e i veneti, se proprio, ma mai i milanesi, poveretti. Dico bene? No, mi dicono 500. Bramante non era proprio, sì, ha dipinto ma è rimasto pochissimo, era più un architetto che un pittore ed era del 500, è giusto. Noi abbiamo avuto un altro importante pittore che ha fatto la mostra l'anno scorso qui a Milano, il Bramantino. Ma questo non è del Bramantino. Bramantino era un importante pittore milanese, uno dei più importanti. Secondo Agosti, che è un critico d'arte milanese molto importante, Bramantino è il più importante, ma non secondo me. Ho visto che voi non ci arrivate qua, mi sa, eh? Allora ve lo dico io. Allora, vedete questa scena qua? Questa scena, this shine, ok? This is Holy Spirit that illuminated Madonna. Okay, this illumination is given here. Is an annunciation. This you have a Gabriele, okay, angels that annunciate to the Madonna. And this was painted by Ambrogio da Fossano called Bergognone. Impossibile. Difficile, Ambrogio da Fossano. Questo è il più importante pittore milanese, fidatevi. Insieme a Foppa e insieme al Bramantino. Poi dopo c'è insieme anche ad altri, no? Però diciamo a Bernardino Mutinone. Allora, questo qua è un dipinto molto bello, vedete com'è bello? You see how beautiful is this detail. And so you see that all the perspective, no? You see perspective, that is representing two in a square surface the three-dimensional world. You see? Okay, the selection of the perspective. You see that is a very careful design, also the illumination. You see this detail is very nice, this detail. This, where is this? Where is this painting? Nobody see before, I saw before this painting, I suppose. Okay, this is a typical from popular. You see this detail is very important. And Roberto Long, an important art writer, art critics, no? Describe in Italian, I am not able to translate in English this poetic description of this detail, but you see also the detail are very fine, okay, and you see here that you lose the high frequency, okay, you maintain here high frequency, but you lose the detail, okay, and you lose the detail because Fourier transform, okay. And you see, you read this, is very important how he describes the light in the afternoon in the Milan country, okay, in the Lombardia country, no? Are you able to read this? It's Roberto Longhi write this in the 1930s. So this painting is one of four paintings of the Madonna story. This is a visitation of Santa Elisabetta that you see here the detail. This is adoration of the Re Magi, of the Magi King. Okay, you see the Magi King here, this adoration. And here is the light. Okay, and this is a presentation at the temple. Okay, so this four square for painting are inside here in this church. We see 1, 2. I suggest everybody to visit this very important masterpiece of the Milano Renaissance. I suggest everybody to visit this. Where is this church? This church is, this is a chapel, Renaissance chapel, of a church completely Renaissance, as you see. It's a very important church. It's not in Milano, but is in Lodi. Nobody knows, I suppose. Lodi is here, it's 20 kilometers from Milano. Here is Milano, here is Lodi. You may go to Lodi also by bike. If you like next weekend to go by bike, you may move from Milano to Lodi, okay? You may eat an important restaurant on the Adda, okay? And if you enter in Lodi, okay, you visit this church, okay, that's entrance free. Since the entrance free, nobody queue to enter, okay? There are no tourists there, okay? Because all the tourists go to the Cenacolo Leonardo da Vinci, of course. Okay? So I suggest you will visit to this important church. You have 4 paintings like this. And observe with detail this and this Madonna. Okay. Okay. This is a piece. And then also there are other important painter in this church, that is the family called Piazza, Callisto Piazza and Martino Piazza and Alberto Piazza. They are three important painters of the early Renaissance, or the later Renaissance in Milano. Okay, so very important. So you have to improve maybe your culture in Milano painter. Okay. Okay. So it was very difficult. Okay, this is Leonardo da Vinci Shen. The Shen is kept from a painting in Louvre. This one is a detail of a Saint Jean by Leonardo da Vinci in Louvre. It's no longer in Milano, but it's been painted in Milano because Leonardo worked in Milano. Okay, then was brought about from by Napoleone and transferred to Louvre. Okay. Okay, but was originally in Milano where? In Milano, in San Francesco. San Francesco, this painting was in Milano, where now is the Museo della Scienza, Science Museum. Science Museum was an older San Francisco conventual building, the San Francisco Maggiore was called. That is the larger Franciscan conventual building in Milano, and now became Museo della Scienza e della Tecnica, Science and Technical Museum. Okay, this painting was there. Okay, but now move and return to our story. Okay, our story is this, so I hope that, okay, why this is important? This is important for our story because what happened now? We move a bit more in advance. And you suppose now, this is Eugen Fresnel integral, okay? It was, I suppose, not now. Okay. Now you suppose, no, okay, no. I changed the slide collection, and this is so stupid. The interface is always a problem. Okay. Now this. Okay. Okay. In the above expression, this is not the exact Fourier because there are this term here. This term is very critical because this term make an impediment to obtain Fourier transform. And what is the problem? The problem is very simple. You suppose, why should be important to eliminate this term? You're supposed to have a pupil here. And you suppose to have the receiver here after maybe zeta. If this is a Fourier transform, this is a pupil. But the Fourier transform makes an important property. What is the important property? This is a symmetrical. I emphasize that the Fourier transform is an operator. Already said this. You remind when I introduced the operator, I said there are differential operator, inter-operator. Fourier transform is an integral operator. If you look at my previous slide, okay? So this is an operator that operates on the pupil and transforms the pupil in the transform. But also I make the inverse of this. And what is the inverse of this is the Fourier transform again. So the Fourier transform of this plane here should be again the pupil. Because if I twist the Fourier transform, I obtain the original function, okay? Because it's a linear function, the Fourier transform. So if I apply 2 times the Fourier transform to the same function, I reobtain the same function. You agree? So this means that in this case, I obtain the pupil. But if I propagate again, I obtain the Fourier transform. And if I propagate again, I obtain the pupil. So you see that now I have invented a mode to transmit my pupil, because I say I transmit the pupil and then I have Fourier transform. But now after 10 meters I have again the Fourier transform of this. And then I have again the Fourier. So I transfer my pupil. This was the power of the Fourier transform, of the operator Fourier transform. Unfortunately, this is not true. Why is not true? Because of this term. Because I said this is not true in general, but this term is not so easy to avoid. Why? Because you have to consider that here, in order to avoid to lose information, I have to have an aperture large, very, very large, with the typical pupil, no? Because it presents very high frequency. So this meant I cannot cancel high frequency in this operation. So I have 2 problems. The need of an aperture very large, and the fact that this is not a Fourier transform, pure Fourier transform. If I am able to beat these 2 couple of problems, I solve my problem of the propagation, because I bring a pupil and I transfer a pupil far, far, and far away. But I repeat, I have to solve 2 problems. The Fourier transform presents infinite component, and this phase term. So now we study how to solve this problem. But we study this not in this coordinate, but in the cylindrical coordinate. Also, we may study in Cartesian, it's the same. But I prefer to study in cylindrical. Why? Because the optical fibers are cylindrical. Okay, so because many lengths are cylindrical, many optical systems are cylindrical. Okay, but believe me, the same theory is absolutely valid in Cartesian. Okay. Now, I have to transform this Huygens-Fresnel integral in cylindrical coordinate. How to do this? It's very easy. It's just algebra. Okay, no physics here. So R is x squared plus y squared square root. X is r cos theta, y is r sin theta, and theta is the arctangent of y over x. So I made the transformation introducing the coordinate r and theta, because theta remains the same. Okay. So now I transformed the Fourier component. The Fourier component fx becomes fr cos phi, and this one fr sin phi. And the Huygens-Fresnel integral became this that I have no time to write here, but okay, you may find over every textbook. Okay, this is the transformation of the Fourier integral. Okay. Then I apply this trigonometric identity, so I made some manipulation in this, and I obtain this term here. It's an old manipulation. Okay. Now, I may express this integral, it is very complex to write, okay, in terms of variable theta separated by the variable r, okay, because now I am in cylindrical. I remind you that the cylindric means that I have zeta, theta, and r, okay. And finally, after this, okay, what discovery? I discovered that this integral, that is the integral in the variable theta, that is this integral in the variable, this is the integral, so my Eugen Fresnel integral became like this one. Okay, so is an integral in R time an integral in theta. Okay, this integral in theta I discovered by the property of the Bessel function, which is a Bessel function. Very strange, but it's true. It was discovered by Bessel itself at the time of Bessel. Okay, so this integral became some phase constant. The description of the pupil with this term of phase that I cannot avoid, time R0, J0, but we already know J0. J0 is the family J of the Bessel function. So magically, the Eugen Fresnel integral became a Fourier integral approximately, apart the term of phase. But this Fourier integral, apart of term of phase, is a sort of integral of this one. This integral is still a Fourier integral. It is called Fourier-Bessel integral. Okay? Fourier-Bessel or Hankel transform. Okay, so what we obtain? We obtain that my figure of diffraction, okay, now became, so it's very large here, like this one, you see. That is, this is the Eugen Fresnel integral. This is the phase term that I cannot consider because then I consider square module, so this term disappears. And then I have an integral of what? This is the Hankel integral of Fourier-Bessel integral because it contains this Fourier transform here, okay, this Fourier function here. This is a pupil description in terms of R. This is the same pupil description. And this is the term, you see, the phase term that I cannot remove. This is the phase term that was already present in the Fourier integral. Okay, so nothing changed. It's just a change of name. Okay, but now I am in cylindrical coordinate. Probably it's the first time that you see this integral, because this integral is not usually reported in the book, but it's the same as the Fourier integral. Simply I describe this in cylindrical coordinate. Okay, so it's only mathematics, no problem. Okay. Hankel transform or Fourier-Bessel transform. So it means that this Fourier, this is Eugen Fresnel integral, became this one. Okay. Now I am in a good position. You suppose to have a circular aperture. If I have a circular aperture and I apply this Hankel transform to the circular aperture, I obtain in effect an intensity, I'm sorry because this projector is not good, that go like a JL divide argument, JL argument divide argument. Okay, this figure that I obtain in circular symmetry exactly look like this one. This is exactly the pattern, so it's a sort of JL of some argument that we see after. What is this argument? Divide the argument. Okay, this is the field description in cylindrical geometry of a circular aperture. So this means that if I have an hole here, an hole, okay, so here I have a shield here all around, and just here I have an hole, okay, in my shield, the figure of this hole look like this one. That is well known. That is called Airy pattern. From the mathematics Airy pattern. Okay, which is exactly a Bessel function divide the argument itself. So the intensity description of this is look like this. Okay. So this is a Fraunhofer pattern, because of course you may describe it's still a Fraunhofer pattern, no? Because just I changed the coordinate, and this is the normalized intensity. You see that this pattern crosses the zero. Okay. So this means that in any case I have to consider here infinite Q. Okay, because it's still a Fourier-like integral. Okay. This is very important. Okay, this finish the story. So the story is this one, that we are now consider the Hankel transform of my pupil. Okay, it is described like here. So now I'm quite close. Ecco, deve finire, no? 45, okay. Now we are quite close to the solution of the problem. Why? Because I have the mathematical tool to be closer to my solution. Okay. Perché ogni volta che parte mi fa un problema? Okay. No, okay, now we are very close to the end of the story, because now we are looking for some, because I have this integral, that is Hankel integral, okay, and if I am able to beat the phase term inside this integral, I am able to find my eigensolution. Okay. So in other terms, you suppose to obtain here my pupil H. This is the transform of the pupil. And this is the transform of the pupil, that is the pupil itself. And this is the transform of the pupil. Okay. So the continued application of the Hankel transform will follow the propagation of the electromagnetic wave representing the photon packet along the journey from the transmitter to the receiver. Okay? And if I am able to rewrite exactly this function, and I maintain limited the pupil, that is not infinite, but limited the pupil, this gives me the solution of my propagation problem. Okay? Okay, this is a picture of what we say mathematically here, okay? Now, before to look what is the solution of this problem, okay, let me step back, okay, and consider what happened in the 1960. What happened in the 1960? In the 1960, for the first time, the people bring a new type of source, of laser source, of source called laser. Okay, so they discovered that there was a laser. And the laser was very interesting as light, a new type of light, okay, a new type of light, never seen before, so never seen also at the time of Huygens, okay, because it was invented in the 1960s. This new type of laser, people ask, maybe that this new type of source beat the diffraction limit, okay, because people don't know the property of this new type of light, okay. So many people try to understand, were the property of the laser beam, okay? And it's not, today we know that the laser beam, we completely know the property of laser beam like this one, no? But just invented was not so easy to know this property. And I give you this picture of the situation at that time, in this quarter hour, okay, that summarizes the complex situation, what happened around a very important year for optical communication even, that is the 60, okay, that is 77 years ago, okay? 77 years ago, no, 67 years ago, okay? What happened? Happened that Myman invented the laser. So the first laser was produced by Myman. This is a researcher, not of the Bell Lab, but of the Hughes Lab. Hughes is an aircraft company, made aircraft and satellite and weapon for the US Army. So in this lab, Myman invented the laser. Okay. In effect, he invented the laser, stimulated optical. Laser means, I already said, light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. But in effect, they don't want the Nobel Prize because the Nobel Prize was won by Towns, Basov, and Prokop because they used the same principle of the laser, that is stimulated emission of radiation, but in the frequency of the microwave. So in the 1953, that is 7 years before, okay, Towns invented the maser, microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So it was the Nobel Prize, was not the inventor of the laser, Myman, but was Towns, okay. And the two Russian people that in the 1955 obtained the same micro amplification by optical pumping. Not exactly a laser, but is an object very similar to the laser. Okay. In the 1958, Towns and Sherlock produced the first optical maser, but the first laser was in effect produced in the 1960 by Myman. This was the situation. Then we use again this pattern, time pattern, because to describe the statistic of the light. But now end here. This was the paper presented to Nature, you see, stimulated optical radiation in Rabi. Rabi is a crystal, okay, is a crystal, natural crystal. And he quoted Shaw et al., you see, okay, and the Myman too. Okay, and then this was the Nobel Prize, okay. And the first laser was exactly this one, very simple. You see that you have a flash lamp, like this. Inside the flash lamp you have a Rabi crystal, crystal rubino, okay, Rabi crystal. And you have two mirrors here that are very important. You see that these are sort of steel plate, okay, and in the steel plate are polished, okay, and they present two mirrors. So what happened? This is you see very small device. It's very simple without electronics. Fortunately, this is why I work. Okay, there are no electronics in laser. A proposito, anche il mio radio si è scaricato. It just contains this. This is you see here. No, you see this is a lamp, flash lamp, like a lamp of the flash of the camera. Very simple lens, $2. Okay, Rabi, and silver mirror. You see silver coating. What is the mirror? You know that in order to produce a mirror, you use a silver. So you prepare the face with silver. Okay, and then if you apply voltage here, you flash the lamp, and each flash of the lamp, you have a laser exit. But people don't know what type of source was this. And they don't know what diffraction produces this. No? And this was very, because that was difficult to measure at that time, so it's very, very complicated to measure this. So what happened? These are people from huge lab. Huge is right here. Huge is an important lab that I visited in front of the Pacific Ocean in California, Malibu, on the beach of Malibu. Exactly on the beach of Malibu was invented the laser, okay? Right, in Los Angeles. So, why these people play with the laser? In Bell Lab, there was another important task of scientists working on the same subject, and they repeated this experiment in a few weeks. So in a few months, in all the world, people replied this experiment, and it worked. Okay, but the Bell Lab people was led by two scientists, Fox and Lee. It is a Chinese scientist working in US in that time, and Fox, okay. You see that they presented this manuscript in the October 20, 1960. So, 5 months after the invention of the laser. The laser was published in May, okay. And they asked, what is the mode, you see, mode in a laser interferometer, because now the word laser was not still used, but we already used the word measure, because measure was 5 years used. So they call this not laser, but laser interferometer. I ask, resonance, what is why these people publish this paper? Because they made a simulation. So they said, you suppose that we try to simulate this. We are in the 1960. 1960, IBM produced the first computer, large computer machine. Okay, because we already have electronics, already have transistor, and they produced a machine of simulation. Okay, this I give you only idea. In a Bell Lab was a very powerful company till then, okay, even in the 1960s, okay. That was the most important lab in US, in telecommunication, but also in optics, okay. And they own an IBM computer, like this one. IBM 7004, okay. that was built in the 1954 and was able to manage 40,000 instructions per second. Now it's not so much, 40 key, whatever now computer is much more powerful of this, 40,000 instructions per second. Now we arrive at 2 billion instructions per second, okay? No? But then at that time they use Fortran, I don't know if you know Fortran language, no. And this computer was very big, so this is a picture of the computer, you see. Okay, very, very big computer, and these are the storage unit of the computer. So by using this computer, they make this simulation. They're supposed to have two mirror here, and to study the diffraction produced by an optical beam launched from one mirror to the other mirror, bounce again, and bounce again. Okay, you follow this bouncing? Mm-hmm. Each bouncing, the pattern diffract. But why they studied this? Because the laser geometry was exactly this. But what the advantage of the laser is? The advantage of the laser is that inside this space, that is inside the mirror, you have a crystal of Rabi. And in the crystal of Rabi, you have amplification. That is, when you lost power, it gives again power. So in order, because of this amplification, you sustain this bouncing. Because usually you lost power by diffraction, because even Fox and Lee know Huygens integral, okay? But since you have amplification between the mirror, you may suppose, by means amplification, to gain the losses by diffraction, okay? And they ask, you suppose to have this model. You see, this is our square root in the same equation. And it's very interesting to follow the equation that they write. So they model this laser behavior like this one. You see, these are the two mirrors. You see here the mirror. Everybody sees the mirror. The mirror is exactly like a pupil. Okay? Because if you hit a mirror and return back, it's like to proceed from a pupil with the aperture equal to the mirror. You see this? It's like an hole, the mirror, because the light comes as from an hole. So the problem is this one. You have an aperture with one hole, and then you have to cross another hole, another hole, another hole, another hole, and so infinite time, because if you have a power that increases the intensity, you never lost intensity, okay? So this is the solution of the diffraction problem, because they said, if what is the beam that maintains itself during this propagation, okay? And if you read the paper that I post for you on BIP, the paper is very easy to read, okay? You found that in this paper, they want to solve this integral. What is this integral? Is an eigen solution integral, eigen equation integral, because they write, given me the pattern B, this is my Anker integral, or Fourier integral, or Huygens-Fresnel integral, depending on your approximation. So I have here some kernel inside, okay, that is called key. The pattern itself, okay. So what is the eigen solution that after the integral is equal to the eigen solution itself? That is, still we have an eigen solution problem. If I solve, but this eigen solution problem is not written by differential operator, but it's, you see here, this is the original paper, you see, this is Huygens-Fresnel integral, nothing more, okay? What we just present you 1 hour ago, okay? And this is our eigen solution integral. So they said, if I am able to make this simulation, I found this V, this pupil, okay? And they began the simulation. The simulation ran many days because it's very complex to simulate this figure in the 1960s. Okay, because 40,000, because if you have a matrix of 1,000 points, it's very difficult to evaluate the Eugen integral with this. Okay, you agree? You may try, but it's quite difficult. After certain, and it's very interesting to see here, the integral equation can be solved numerically by the method of successive approximation. It's interesting to note that the iterative method of solution is analogous to the physical process of launching an initial distribution of wavefront in the interferometer and letting it bounce back and forth, so it rimbalza, bounce means rimbalza, back and forth, indietro e avanti, okay, back and forth between the mirror as described in the following paragraph. We study and obtain numerical solution for several geometry of the interferometer: rectangular plane mirror, circular plane mirror, confocal, spherical, or parabolic mirror. Okay, so it means that the mirror could be confocal, that is spherical, plane, circular, you see it changes geometry, or rectangular. And what they obtain, we finish here, and then we continue. They obtain. The first result was this one, you see. This is the first transit. You see the pattern is very diffractive pattern. And this was obtained after 300 transits. So you see that the figure, the pattern, diffraction pattern became more and more smoothly. Okay. And then we study the discovery, the solution. But I leave you to read for yourself this paper, and we return on this Wednesday. Okay. So tomorrow we have the exercitation about the use of Bessel beam, the optical fiber. Okay. So we move to this one. And then we continue, because now we collapse, we obtain the other possible approach to the solution of the propagation problem. We see is a very old problem, not today problem, okay? But it's very interesting to read for yourself this paper, but it contains the Eugen plan that we present, okay?